The objectives are operations, pumping, emergency operations, operator's maintenance, ladder and Stokes basket assembly, ladder placement, and the SOGs.
The first part of operations is setting the outriggers, found in section 1-3. On level ground, extend both outriggers until contact is made with the ground. Then alternate extending to raise the rear step 2 to 3 inches. Do not raise the chassis wheels from the ground. Now, if the truck is on a sloping surface, extend the low side first, raising that side slightly above level, and then you can alternate each side to achieve proper height, which again is 2 to 3 inches. Then you'll notice both green indicator lights will be illuminated. After that, go around and visually check each outrigger to ensure proper placement. You may then operate the boom and nozzle controls. Remember to raise the boom to approximately 15 degrees, then extend, rotate, and raise as needed.
Alright, stop the video now. Read capacity and limitations on page 1 and 2. After you've read those, turn it back on.
Now that you've had a chance to review section 1-2, you notice there are 3 rated capacities to remember: water delivery, ladder only, and tip supported. Water delivery is flowing 1,000 gallons a minute, fully extended. Ladder only is with the tip unsupported, fully extended, and not flowing water. Tip supported is at any angle above horizontal. This is highlighted in red to point out the potential danger with this option because of possible damage to a building. When using the ladder as a water tower flowing 1,000 gallons a minute from 10 degrees below to 85 degrees above horizontal is rated to resist the nozzle reaction forces. So, with the unit on a firm ground less than 2 degrees grade, fully extended, can support a tip load of 250 pounds or 500 pounds evenly distributed. So when not delivering water, there are 2 different capacity ranges to remember. The first range is between 0 and 45 degrees. So with the ladder fully extended on a grade less than 2 degrees, can support a tip load of 500 pounds or 1,000 pounds evenly distributed. The second low capacity range to remember when not delivering water is the 45 to 85 degree range. This range, fully extended and up to a 2 degree angle, can support a tip load of 800 pounds or 1,600 pounds evenly distributed. Keep in mind that even though this range goes to 85 degrees, the recommended climbing angle is between 45 and 75 degrees. Now that we've discussed the range capacities for water delivery, no water delivery, and tip supported, it's important to remember that this is when the unit is operated on firm, level ground up to a 5% grade or 2 degrees. So when standing at the rear of the truck, this is what 2 degrees looks like.
Open the manual to 1-5 and follow along as we describe operations on an incline.
There are 2 separate ranges when operating on an incline. The first range is between 2 degrees and 5.5 degrees. The other range is anything greater than 5.5 degrees. So when we discuss these ranges, we will go over positioning the truck on a grade, operating as a water tower, and restricted operations for rescue. Remember that on grades less than 2 degrees, no limitations are placed on the unit. Here we position the ladder truck on a 2 degree grade located at the back of one house. As you can see, it's not that steep of an angle, So anything greater than 2 degrees, you're going to want to point the ladder truck either up or downhill. And if you're using it as a water tower, you want to make sure you keep the water stream pointed downhill. When operating on an incline between 2 degrees and 5.5 degrees, you want to position the truck headed either up or downhill. If you're using it as a water tower, remember, you have to point the stream downhill. And for rescue, there are no limitations on this. You have full function of 360 degrees around the truck. Now for grades greater than 5.5 degrees, continue to face the unit either up or downhill. It's preferable to head the unit uphill. Never spot the unit crossways on the grade. When operating as a water tower, continue to point the stream downhill. For rescue, you have to restrict the operations of the telesquirt over the front or rear of the truck, not to exceed 45 degrees on either side of the center line, as shown in the diagram.
Now we're just going to show you a few things about the truck itself as pumping wise. Go over to the electronic pump shift, flip it down, you'll get a green light, okay to pump. Come over, take the transmission, put it in drive. Then take a look at the speedometer. It should be reading. Then to take it out of pump, you just do the reverse. Put the truck in neutral. Go back and look at your speedometer again though, because you need that to be at 0. So once it's at 0, you can safely take the truck out of pump, and that way you don't grind the gears. Next we're just showing you the step that's by the pump panel. You need to use this if you're going to use the ladder. That way the pump operator is safe. He's standing up on there in case the ladder comes in contact with live wires. And then the back of the truck has the 2 discharges, or intakes. They're discharges coming off the pump if you want them to use just like a normal discharge. Or you can use them as intakes to supply the ladder. It's very important. You cannot use these to put water in your tank on the truck. They can only supply the ladder. Now to make that work correctly, you have to go up and change the wheel that's up there and turn it. If it's closed, those are 2 discharges. If it's open, then those are intakes to supply the ladder. Now we'll talk a little bit about the water thief. You can use this either to go from 2 3-inch lines to a 5-inch, or you can go from a 5-inch to 2 3-inch lines and then proceed with another 5-inch after that. So it's a very versatile tool to have on the truck. Now we're going to talk about any emergency operations you have to do when the motor isn't running or the PTO won't go into gear if the ladder is up already. If the ladder isn't up and anything fails, do not put the ladder up into operation. These are only to take the ladder down and to raise the outriggers. If you look on here, you'll see an A and B switch and the joystick, so that you can press one or the other of the A or B and it will turn an electric motor, and you'll be able to use the joystick to lower the boom, retract the ladder, raise the outriggers up. Anything you need to do that normally you could do with the PTO, you'll be able to do with this switch or switches. Just use one or the other. Another thing to remember is you can't exceed 5 minutes when using the switches, because you might burn the pump up. Next is the interlock override. If the interlock should fail, you won't be able to move the boom or lower or raise the ladder. So what you have to do is operate this. It will override the interlock, and you'll be able to lower or raise the boom, retract the ladder, and stow the ladder, and then you can raise the outriggers. Never use this to deploy the ladder, because you have no safeties when the outriggers come down to see if they're set strong enough or anything like that. Operator's maintenance. We're going to check the weekly first. So here's what you're going to be looking at. So we're going to go with the hydraulic reservoir oil first. You would check that. It's on the top of the truck next to the generator. It has a dipstick so you can check it. Then after that is the emergency motor pump operation. You would either press the A or the B switches while operating either an outrigger . Throttle governor control. There is no governor on 15. The throttle back in the back is so that you can raise the pump pressure on the truck if you're operating the stick, or lower the pump pressure on the truck. So everything can be done back in the back if you're operating the stick. PTO and pump operation. What this really is you're just going to shift the PTO into on position, and then you're going to shift the pump into pump operations and put it in gear. Make sure they work. Outrigger boom interlock. Go back to the back of the truck, place the pads on the ground, set the outriggers out to make sure the interlock is working properly. Monitor and monitor controls. Check the whole area in case there's hydraulic leaks. Then check the roller chain to make sure that it's okay. Then go down, and if you look, you'll see that the sweep cables are just below that go from left to right on the nozzle. Check those. Then check any electrical wiring that's up there, and then operate the whole system. Make sure that it's correct and working properly. Now we're going to talk about the booms. Make sure that they're clean, and if they're not, clean them up. And then we're going to check for visible damage such as weld cracks or dents or scratches or bends in any of it. Check all the boom pivot pins for proper installation and all fasteners for tightness. And then check all the hydraulic hoses and connections for leaks. And then check the waterway to make sure that it has no leaks in it. On the back side you'll find some more checks. This is the turntable. Check and make sure that there's no welding cracks, no dents on it, no bends. Then you're going to check the hydraulic hoses, make sure they're all right. Then you're going to check the waterway, make sure it's okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to check the pins for securing the cylinders there, make sure that bolt's there, that's very important. And then you're going to make sure that this green tag is here for the emergency bleed downs on it. Check as much of the frame as you can underneath for cracks in the welds. And then visually check the pins, make sure they're all there. Check the outrigger valve, make sure it's working properly. Then check all the hydraulic hoses and fittings. Check the communication system. The filtering condition light, don't worry about it. Check all the cautions and everything on there. Check one hand control valve for tree working operation and hydraulic leaks. The monthly check. First you're going to raise the boom out of the saddle slightly, check for excessive backlash in the rotation drive. Then you're going to look at the pads underneath where the extensions are and check and make sure that they're okay and they're still there, and check for wear. Lubricate the extension water pipes with light oil, and then lubricate the monitor and nozzle around it with a penetrating lubricant. The air cascade system on 6415 is not to be used. We don't have the tank tested any longer, and we don't put anybody on the end of the ladder, so they have to be in that kind of air supply where they have to plug into the truck. The other checks you should be doing when doing the monthly check is looking at all the rails, look at the rungs, make sure all the bolts and nuts are there, make sure nothing's out of the ordinary, and if it is, report it to Ron. Now we're going to talk about using the Stokes basket with the ladder. In this box you're going to have the harness, D-ring, double and single pulley, Prusik, and webbing. This is all to be used so that you can set up the basket for utilization on a call when you're trying to hoist somebody either on or off a roof or anything like that. On the Stokes basket, you're going to find markers, orange and blue. What these represent is this is how you hook up the harness to those colors on the Stokes. Okay, Justin's hooking up the Prusix onto the truck through the eyelets. Notice that he used 2 Prusix per side. That just is a double safety factor. A single Prusix on each side would do, but doubling it up just gives you that much more safety. There's the basket with the harness on it. Now we're going to connect the D-ring to it. That's the end of the rope going onto it. Look and see, everybody tightens down the D-rings even in the trainings. That way everybody does it automatically. Put the double pulley on top, and then you go right back down to another pulley onto the harness itself. If you look, it's hooked. The end of the rope is hooked to one side, and then this single pulley is hooked to the other side. Tighten down the D-rings, make sure they're secured, and then the rope comes right back up to that double pulley. The pulleys that are on top, that Justin has it in his hand right now, that double pulley, that's only a redirect. It has nothing to do with giving you any more advantage on the hoist system. The advantage comes from down below. When you have a pulley down there and you're tied off, that's a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage. And there it is all together. If you notice, there's a tag line on the Stokes basket. That keeps it from twirling in the air. And it's also, you have to make sure that you go on the feet side. Blue side is the feet side, the orange side is the head side. You want to keep the head up and not down. This is a redirect. It's easier to haul straight than it is to haul when the rope's going up in the air, because the first person will always have most of the weight if you haul just trying to go straight up in the air. Notice that we have a Prusix on there in case something happens, or if we need to stop and readjust, we can. Now we're going to show you another way of operating the Stokes, setting it up a different way. We're going to use a Z-rig this time. The front tire is our redirect with that pulley, and that's the Z-rig right there. But it's playing out really slow, and when that pulley actually reaches the other pulley, you'd have to bring that one all the way back down. So the best way to do it is set up a partial Z-rig at the very beginning, this being the partial right here. You'll be able to play the line out quickly, get your Stokes basket where it needs to be, and then once you do that, then you can finish off your Z-rig for what you need to do. And that's the finished product right there. Remember, when you lower, extend the boom, or raise the boom, you're actually shortening or making the rope longer. So the Stokes is going to either go up or go down, depending on what your boom's doing. But that can assist you on what you want to do as far as placement of the Stokes. So you can utilize that along with the Z-rig to get the placement of where you need to put the Stokes, and on lowering the Stokes back to the ground level to take care of your patient. But this takes practice, and you can set this up however you want. Just remember to do a redirect so that you're pulling sideways and not vertically. And that's mainly what the redirect's for. But practice is the key. Remember to use your bomb-proof anchors, and by that I mean anything that can't be moved. You know, a tire, wrapping around a tire, wrapping around the outriggers. Positioning on where that all is going to be placed depends on your call. So I would practice it several different ways so that you can get comfortable with utilizing it. Now we're going to show exactly the opposite way of setting it up. if you look at this as we go down the line, you'll see that the redirect is on the outrigger, whereas before the redirect was on the front tire. There's the redirect on the front tire on the right hand portion of your screen, and that pulley right there on the left hand portion is part of the Z-rig. So we're going to haul that stove basket up using that way. What Jay's doing right now is he's telling Kevin and Dylan, don't use that haul system at all, just lock it up so it doesn't move. If you notice, the ladder is a good probably 15 feet into the air. It gives you a line to play with. Now we're going to raise the ladder, and as you go up, the Stokes basket is going to go up with it, but it's also going to come up by using the pulley system, because Tim's extending the ladder at the same time, and it's shortening that. So as it goes up, it actually shortens the amount of rope you have between the tip of the ladder and the Stokes. So you can utilize that and not have to keep playing out line or adjusting the line coming from where your haul system is. So it helps from not having to do multiple things at one time. You can just use the ladder to raise the Stokes basket into the air and also shorten the length of the rope. Now once you get closer to the building, you can use the haul system to make the minute adjustments by raising it up, because you may have the ladder where you want it to be and the position of the Stokes on the roof. So just use it to either go up or down without having to do anything to the ladder. Okay, what Dylan's doing now is he's finishing up the Z-rig. The Stokes is already on top of the building, ready to go. They're loading the patient. While they're loading the patient, the crew on the ground can be setting up the finished product of the Z-rig to give them that mechanical advantage. Doesn't mean that you're going to use it, but just means that we have it ready to go if we do need it. Now we're going to demonstrate that you can use the ladder to actually raise the person off the building and set them on the ground without using the haul system itself. Now we do have it set up, and what we're doing is we're raising the ladder, and that brings it up off the roof, and we're swinging it over. As we pan down, you can see that the ground crew is just holding the line. It's locked up so it can't move. But as we're lowering the ladder, the rope's getting longer and it's coming down to the ground. So you don't have to use everything in your arsenal when you set this up. Just have it all set up so you have that minute adjustments if you need it. And there the Stokes is on the ground. Bedding the ladder. Out in the cradle there's a switch, so when you bring the ladder down and initiate the switch, sometimes you'll get a red light. It's real easy to take care of. It's not a big deal. What you don't want to do is you don't want to slam that boom down on top of that cradle. When you get the red light, just step off the platform and push down on both of the outrigger sticks. That's simple. You'll get your greens again, and then you'll be able to snug the boom down into the cradle. Now we're going to talk about scrubbing the building. And what that means is you want the ladder as close as you can so that you get the most out of the ladder's reach. Remember, you're going to lose 10 feet approximately from the floor to the turntable, and because that's added into the ladder's height. So instead of a 65-foot aerial, now you only have approximately 55 feet. So if you get this ladder as close as you can to the building, you'll have 55 feet from center, left or right, so you can scrub, what they call scrubbing the building. So if you have people on the windows that you need to rescue, or if you have fire coming out, or whatever you need to do, this gives you your best advantage for that ladder. When placing the ladder, it depends on a lot of different circumstances. How the building's laid out, if it's on fire, where the fire is located, and where can you park. Just remember that the back and the sides will give you the most reach with the ladder. So keep that in mind anytime you place the ladder. If you have to back into a situation, it might take a little bit more time, but you get a better reach with the ladder that way. If you can pull sideways, like on most commercial buildings, because of their parking lot areas, that'd be a good way to use the ladder. And that's about it. It's kind of hard to explain how you should set the ladder up, not knowing everything, but practice is the key. Go out and try it. Now we'll go over the SOGs. If you look down to letter K, you'll see that no firefighter should be on the end of the ladder when it's flowing water. That way, no firefighters are put in danger by the end of the ladder. You can operate the ladder, the nozzle from below. You can make it fog, you can turn it up, turn it down. So there's really no reason to put anybody on the end of the ladder. On 3.0 of the procedures, with the three-man ladder company, you'll have one person going up the ladder, you'll have another person operating the truck as far as the ladder itself. That's usually going to be the driver operator. He's already positioned the truck where he needs to be, so he knows exactly how he wants to operate the device. Then you'll have to have someone else on that truck operate the pump. The company officers also has been changed. They're just helping to set up the truck, placing the chalk blocks, ground pads, going around making sure that the opposite side is correct. Along with the driver operator, they're going to come around and double check everything. Remember always to look up. That's very important. Make sure there's no hazards. So make sure if there are hazards and you spot them that you tell everybody on the crew what hazards there are. And then the firefighter's responsibility, getting equipment off the truck, maybe help set up water supply and everything like that. So as this goes on, just needs to be defined on who's doing what from the officer's point of view. Now we'll talk about F, the company officer. The company officer at any time can make a change on how the truck is deployed depending on the circumstance and manpower, as long as they follow the manufacturer's recommendations for setting up the ladder truck. This gives the company officer the leeway he needs on the scene of a call with the amount of manpower, either a 3 or 4 company ladder truck, and how they need to set it up. As long as everybody's qualified on the jobs that he's asked them to do, it's totally up to him on how he wants to perform this task.